I made my little drink. Let's see what it tastes like. If it's like garbage.
Is it a new wine?
Oh, that just tastes like some really watered down wine. That might work. It doesn't taste great. No, it's 7 Moons. You've had that one,
yeah.
right?
I've had that, yep.
Yeah, so I think this will work good.
Not bad? Yeah, I know. Watered down.
It's better than that shit you're drinking.
That I'm drinking. I'm okay with this. I don't know. You know, like I said before, I drink seltzer water regularly, so I'm okay with the seltzer, like, you know, and I burp all the time anyways. I didn't realize that it might be because of the seltzer since you pointed out to me, hey, you know, that shit makes me burp a lot. I bet that's why, because I drink a lot of seltzer water. But I'm okay with the rosé. I think it's a good way for me to watch how much I'm actually having. You know, I've decided I can have 2 of these a podcast, and I'm good.
Yeah. I was at Walmart yesterday. I had this one, it was 3 Ghost Vines, and it was good, and I wanted to get more of it, and I went to the Walmart closer to us that's smaller, and it didn't fucking have it. But you know what they did have is the little individual, like, you know, the little 4-packs. Normally they only have like the Sutton Home, and I think that's what it's called, and they're mostly like whites and then like a cab or something, and I'm like, where's the plain red? Well, Hypothic has got a little pack now.
Do they?
Yes.
I haven't seen that.
And so did 19 Crimes.
Yeah, I see the 19 Crimes.
But it was the one with the chick on it or whatever.
Hard Shard is
I know
phenomenal.
you said it was good.
I love it.
I can't remember if I got it and I was like, Chris is insane. This is garbage. Or I've not tried it. But why would I have that memory of saying that about you? So I must have tried it.
You might have tried it. I am a fan of Chardonnays. That is due to my stepbrother's wife. She bought me a Phantom by Bogle Vineyards, but it's Phantom Chardonnay. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh boy, a white. I'm not too keen on those unless it's like a Sauvignon Blanc. You know, I like that. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about a Chardonnay. And I drank that bitch probably in one sitting. It was so damn good. And I'm like, here's the biggest wino podcaster. No, it was just delicious. I don't like the other Bogle wines, but I like Phantom. It was delicious. And I like Hard Chard. You said that they had the little 4-packs of those. Mm-hmm. Those are so much fun. Those you can just pop one of those in your bag and go.
Go to work. I'm on lunch.
Right?
It's meal prep for the week.
You're right. I love it. Good idea, right?
Yeah. No, I think and I don't know shit about wine, but apparently I'm attracted to all the Pinots.
Oh, yeah.
The white and the red, I'm down for it.
I like a Pinot Grigio, and I do like a Pinot Noir. I've been a fan of Pinot Noir forever. I thought that Cupcake made a delicious one, and then I tried others, and I was like, okay, this is just my jam, apparently.
The other day, that's what I got, was 19 Crimes Pinot.
Yeah.
And then this one, the 7.
Yeah.
Walmart didn't have the white one that I like.
So you're talking about the Water Witch one, right? That's the one you went looking for? Yeah, I know about that one. Because I ended up trying a different one, and I didn't like it as much as I like the Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, I thought it would be best with the little, like, club soda mix, you know,
to
do a white instead of a red. And listen, if you are a big wine drinker or like connoisseur and you're listening to this right now, I know you're losing your fucking mind because I can't pronounce the names right. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm talking about fucking watering it down. But I'm trying to stay alive for this podcast.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I have a hard enough time speaking. We don't need to add alcohol on top of it and then me try to tell you a story, and I always go last. So
hey, you know what though? I think it's a European thing to add seltzer water to wine because a lot of the gals that I work with already did that. Because I was like, you know, I was considering doing that, and they're like, "You haven't done that before?" And I'm like, "No, I don't mix shit with my wine. I just drink it. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "No, that's the only way I can, like, you know, actually drink wine and not fall down by the time I'm done with the bottle." I'm like, "Aha! You're giving me a way to actually drink the entire bottle and stay afloat." All right. This is how we do it.
Just prolongs the fun is what
right.
it is. It's very mellow fun. Anyways, this is a podcast, by the way, not about wine. Because like I said, I'm a wine murderer to some. I'm just doing it all kinds of wrong.
Yeah, right. But, so we murder some wines.
So this is a podcast about ghosts and like paranormal shit and stuff.
It's a paranormal shit and stuff and cryptids. And elves and puckwudgies and things like that. We love it.
We got to do some of those stories.
Yeah, and some wine. Why not?
Well, yeah. It makes every story more fun, the wine.
Yeah, campfire, wine, puck wedgie.
Yes, elves.
Elves, yes.
I just like that you threw that in there. I never really thought about elves being a paranormal thing for some reason. But they totally are, right?
Yeah, and we do it all. We love that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So that's what you're going to hear on our podcast. Maybe not tonight, but we just roll out new episodes every week. So just keep listening, and maybe one day you'll get an elf episode.
And yes, and we are Creatures of the Night. You should have saw that in the title. I'm Wendy.
Oh, and I'm Chris. Yes. Hi.
Welcome.
Hello. How are ya? Tell us later by reviewing.
Yeah.
And letting us know.
Comments and whatever. You know, it's interactive. You can talk to us. We're out there. We love to talk to you back because we love to fucking talk.
That's right. And we are out there.
So.
Wine, elves.
Yep.
Cryptids, check.
That's not what my story's about this week, though. But since it's so long, I should just get into it. We have enough wine talk. So I'm almost like, we need to keep talking? No, I think we're good. I have no idea how long this is going to fucking take.
15 hours later.
Is it, when you say stuff like that, do you always envision SpongeBob?
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's it. I just see him, you know, like in his little house and the big cartoon kind of writing and ...
Yes. Awesome. That's exactly what I was going for. All the time. I told you my brain is half paranormal, half SpongeBob. So.
So you remember earlier this week, or just a couple of days ago, I told you that I changed my mind on what story to write like 3 different times. Yeah. I was all over the fucking place. First, it always starts out with like lazy me, that I go through like my stockpile of old ideas and I just kind of like eeny, meeny, miny, moe that shit. And I'm like, done. This is it. I'm good. But then I realized this episode comes out the week of Halloween.
Right.
And I was like, no, you can't be lazy, Wendy. During the greatest holiday of the year, get it together. So I search around and I find a podcast story that's much more fitting for the holiday. And I'm like, good, this is going to be awesome. I put my game face on and I'm ready to write my school paper, right?
All right.
Fucking wrong.
Oh, no.
Something else catches my crazy eyes and I drift away, spending way too much time reading about something that isn't even my podcast story. I'm like, Wendy, you cannot wait until the last minute to write these fucking stories and then allow yourself to be distracted by shiny new stories.
Shiny new pretty stories. I love you.
So then it hits me and I ask myself, wait, maybe this story that I'm so psyched to read about could actually be my podcast story. I dug a little deeper just to make sure it was going to be Halloween podcast worthy. And yep, it's a winner. Okay. So here goes. All
right.
You ready?
Yeah.
God, I hope this is fitting. Because I totally thought it was.
So much buildup.
And then it falls flat. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. Erick Weiss was born in Budapest, Hungary on March 24th, 1874. His parents were Rabbi Meyer Samuel Weiss and Cecilia Steiner. In July of 1878, he and his family moved to America and settled in the small Wisconsin town of Appleton. But after Rabbi Weiss lost his job at the Appleton Zion Reformed Jewish congregation, the family moved to Milwaukee.
All right.
Erick was one of 7 children, so that's a lot of mouths to feed, clothe, and house.
Could you imagine moving with that many kids?
I mean, like, you might forget some. It's like, did I get all the kitchen towels? Oh, shit. Are we missing Johnny?
Yeah, what about Jacob?
And they have to go back. Or not, you know.
He was always so mouthy.
I'm sure he'll be fine. Appleton's a very nice town.
Right.
Even with Erick taking on odd jobs like shining shoes and selling newspapers, the family fell into dire poverty.
Ooh.
At the age of 12, Erick hopped a freight car and ran away from home to look for work.
Wow. What, to support his family or just to support himself?
Yes, I truly believe they didn't necessarily say that, but I do believe his intentions were whatever he got, he was going to send back.
Wow. That's upsetting. 12 years old.
I know. What a man already.
Yeah.
So a year later, though, he met back up with his father, Rabbi Weiss, and the two of them decided to move to New York, feeling that a teacher of religion could do better in a city with a larger Jewish population. And between the two of them, they then saved enough money to bring Erick's mom and the other children to Manhattan. At the age of 17, Erick was working at a necktie factory on Lower Broadway when he read the memoirs of the famous French magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin. After that, it was over for Erick. He had discovered his passion, and more than anything, he wanted to become a professional magician. He left his job at the factory and partnered up with a friend and fellow factory worker, Jacob Hyman, and the two began appearing for single night acts in New York beer halls and theaters, just anywhere they could get a booking.
Wow.
For his shows, Erick began using the stage name Harry Houdini. So Erick Weiss is Harry Houdini.
That's fucking awesome. I'm so stoked that you're doing this story. I only know pieces of it. And now I'm going to know so much more. And you said the story goes on forever too. I can't wait.
But I think I go way too much into his act. And then when I get to some of the more paranormal elements, I'm like, yeah. And then he did this too. But listen how he got out of these handcuffs.
Yeah, right? Oh, that's awesome.
I got problems. I'm
I
like shaking. I was so excited.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
I've also had a lot of coffee. So.
Right.
Okay. This being his own personal homage to French magician Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin and American magician Harry Keller, whom he also admired. Houdini's friend, Jacob, however, wasn't as committed. He was discouraged as agents refused to book them for longer runs, and so Jacob Hyman quit and went back to the necktie factory. Mm-hmm. Theodore Weiss, Erick's younger brother, eagerly took Jacob's place. The two began traveling all over for shows, and like I said, anywhere they can find a booking. And they even went as far as Chicago, calling themselves Brothers Houdini.
Oh.
They were performing, for the most part, in dime museums, on platforms next to snake charmers and fire eaters.
Ooh, cool.
It's a fun crowd to be around.
Right? Nice.
At first, Houdini focused initially on traditional card tricks, but he wasn't that good at it. So he began experimenting with escape acts. In 1893, while performing with his brother at Coney Island.
Oh, really? I didn't know he performed there.
Oh, yeah. There was all kinds of those types of acts.
Oh.
And this is where he met fellow performer Wilhelmina Beatrice Ronner, and that may be wrong. Everybody will know her name but me. I don't know. I should have looked up how to say it.
You know what, though? Nobody ever comments on our podcast, so we'll never know if we're saying anything wrong.
That's not 100% true. But they never correct us. I was telling somebody that the other day. I said, Chris is always throwing in these corrections, but I think it's very rare that anybody actually points them out to her. She's just beating her own self up. I never make corrections. I'm like, fuck that.
Fuck that.
Anyways, these two get married almost immediately. They're so smitten with each other. And Wilhelmina, who is called Bess, began working with her husband as his assistant. And Houdini's brother, Theo, don't worry about him. He went on the road himself with another performer, Madame Olga.
Oh.
When not performing magic, Harry sold soap, combs, toothpaste, and other necessities to fellow performers.
Wow.
He also spent his free time pursuing his new hobby, handcuffs.
Nice hobby you got there.
I like how they just put that out there as his hobby. It's like, handcuffs. Isn't that your thing?
You know, everyone, what? You're not into handcuffs? What's wrong with you?
He discovered that they could be opened with a concealed duplicate key. A small piece of metal or bent wire, a single key would open every set of the same pattern. With less than a dozen hidden keys and picks, Houdini was sure that he could escape from every kind of handcuffs used by various police departments in the United States.
Wow.
He read every piece of information that he could find on locking mechanisms and began collecting different kinds of cuffs, taking them apart and studying the mechanics.
Shit, he was the ultimate locksmith before that was even a thing.
Well, so there was a legend out there that when he was a kid, one of his odd jobs that he worked was for a locksmith.
Oh, no shit.
But also when he got into magic, that wasn't the first thing that he went for. So.
Right. He went for cards, apparently, and failed.
Yeah. He was like, I can do this. And they're like, you're not very tricksy. You know, I can see what you're doing with your hands. That's what they said. He wasn't very quick, like with his sleight of hand movements. And that's why he wasn't that good at it.
You suck, Houdini.
However, because of his handcuff skills, he became known as the Handcuff King for a time.
Wow.
He could escape so easily from any kind of restraint that they put him in. In November of 1895, Houdini amazed officers at the police station in Gloucester, Massachusetts, by freeing himself from a pair of their handcuffs. And then there were similar stories like that in newspapers pretty much anywhere Houdini went.
Oh.
While playing in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, he accompanied a doctor friend on his rounds at a mental institution. Because I guess you could just do that kind of shit in the, you know, in the 18s. Yeah. Houdini watched in shock fascination as a man in a straitjacket, locked in a padded cell, tried frantically to free himself.
Wow.
Houdini became convinced that an escape from a straitjacket would be a showstopper performance.
Yeah.
He obtained a straitjacket from his friend, and then after weeks of strenuous practice, he was ready to try it before an audience. Wow. Eager volunteers buckled Houdini in, carried him into a cabinet, and then closed the curtains. Huh. He had gained such slack by holding his crossed arms rigidly as the sleeve straps were fastened, straining every muscle a little at a time. He forced one sleeve and then the other over his head. Then he opened the straps with the pressure of his fingers, like through the canvas of the jacket.
Okay.
He twisted, he turned, and finally squirmed free and threw the restraints and burst through the curtain and took a bow. And no one fucking applauded.
Why?
They didn't see it. He did it all behind a curtain. The whole thing fell flat because Houdini had not yet discovered how important showmanship is.
Oh my God.
They just assumed that an assistant was behind the curtain and helped him get out of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So he had to work on that.
Yeah.
The Houdinis had their worst season by far in 1896. They were in so much financial trouble that Harry wrote to other magicians and offered to work as their assistants. In the fall of 1897, Houdini toured with a Midwestern medicine show. A Dr. Hill, the owner of the show, sold bottled cure-alls to the crowd, you know.
Yeah, snake oil. Nice.
Right.
I would have been first in line, by the way. I love that shit.
You'd have been amazed by everything he was saying.
Every single thing.
You mean I can clean the toilet and it will help get the fungus off my toe?
And the stains off my teeth? All at the same time? How many can I buy?
So crowds ate this shit up, and they would gather around Houdini, and other people, his little troupe, would be putting on performances while he sells this bottle of water to people.
Yeah.
Then they would offer a show later in the evening for a ticket price.
All right.
In one town, Dr. Hill heard that a spirit medium had been attracting sizable audiences in the area, and Houdini offered to stage a seance as part of their performance. He's like, I can do that.
Right.
If it's going to make us some money. Harry made his debut as a spiritualist on January 8th, 1898, in the Galena, Kansas Orpheum House, tied to a chair in his cabinet by volunteers from the audience. He pretended to go into a trance. Once the curtains were closed, a mandolin played softly, and bells and nope, not trampolines. Tambourines.
I love the way they sound.
Squeak, squeak.
Squeak, squeak.
No, tambourines, they sound better.
Okay.
Played before flying over the heads of the crowd.
Wait, who flew over the heads of the crowd?
The instruments, listen, they did not even explain to me how this works. I've never understood it, but I've heard of so many seances where instruments play and they like float in the air. And okay, so like wires and stuff like that, I get it. I guess that's just why they're not explaining it to us, because it seems so simple. You know, they always were like, turn off the lights and nobody look around or something. Yeah,
right.
They gave them like really strict instructions so that they can get away with a lot of shit. So maybe they were just on wires, but it did not necessarily say that. But these instruments start playing and then they fly over everybody's head. The curtain opens. Houdini is still firmly tied down in his cabinet. And then once more, the curtains close and then they open again and he's been freed from his bonds by the spirits.
Huh.
Houdini then walks. He's getting better at the showmanship here. So it's more dramatic. He then walks to the front of the stage, closes his eyes, and passes the messages from the dead.
Wow.
Houdini would prepare for this by listening to local gossip, reading back copies of the local newspaper, and copying names and dates from tombstones in the local cemetery.
Whoa.
So that's how they do it, guys.
I mean, good memory, though, because like I could do that too. But by the time I get home, I've forgotten all about that shit. Thank God we have the camera phones.
When I wrote that, I said, maybe Chris is practicing to be a medium, and that's why she's always in the fucking cemeteries. That's
right, yeah. No, they're just so peaceful.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I know what you're up to now.
Showmanship, Wendy.
When Houdini pretended to contact the spirit of a man whose throat had been cut, several people actually fled from the theater. That's how much they believed him. He scared the bejesus out of them.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
The medicine show tour ended and Houdini still found it difficult to book his magic and escape act. He and Betts traveled for a time as mediums before they signed on to play a season with the Welsh Brothers Circus.
Oh, wow.
Circuses were their thing. They kind of worked a lot with them before, you know, he hit it big. At 24, spoiler, everyone, if you don't know who Houdini is, he does become a success. At 24, Houdini was still on the bottom rung of the show business ladder. He promised his wife that he would try for only one more year, and then if he didn't go anywhere, he would give up magic and find another, more profitable line of work. Note, he did not say he would go get a job in a factory or the office. He did say steady line of work. He said profitable.
Profitable.
So he's going to go start selling those potions or something.
Yeah, snake oil is where it was.
Yeah. He wasn't into no ordinary job.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. While playing in St. Paul, Minnesota, early in 1899, Houdini was approached by a man who asked if Houdini could free himself from other handcuffs or only the ones used in his show. Houdini boasted that a restraint had yet to be made that could hold him. The next evening, the man returned with his own handcuffs, locked them on Houdini's wrists, and pocketed the key. When the magician easily escaped, the man introduced himself as Martin Beck, the acclaimed booker for the Orpheum Vaudeville circuit. He offered Houdini a trial date in Omaha if Houdini could put together a new act in dramatic escapes.
Yeah.
Which he hadn't seen his act, probably. So, I mean, like, I'm sure he came with the same shit.
Yeah.
In Omaha, where he played for a week and received $60, the most money he had ever earned at one time.
Damn.
$60 for the week.
Wow.
The escape artist slipped out of 5 pairs of police shackles and a set of regulation leg irons. By the time he reached California, his salary had jumped to $90 a week.
Wow.
In San Francisco, Houdini was stripped to the skins in the office, making sure he doesn't have anything on him.
Yeah.
In the office of the San Francisco Detectives Force, and was examined by the police surgeon. I don't know what that includes. How far did they go?
Cavity check. Poor Houdini and his searches. Yuck.
That's extreme.
That's extreme.
They had to at least check the butt cheeks. Why would they bring a surgeon in there?
Oh, yeah, this is like Psycho's TSA.
That's too much.
That's rough.
I'd be like, I'll pass. That's okay.
Yeah, right. You got me.
He then proceeded to slip out of 10 pairs of handcuffs, a wide leather belt used to subdue dangerous prisoners, and a regulation straitjacket.
Right? Hannibal Lecter style, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When Houdini's salary soared to $150 per week, he ran a large ad in the trades paper and made sure that the theatrical world knew of his accomplishments.
Wow.
Martin Beck also used these ads to sell Houdini to the Keith Theater circuit in the East as a headliner.
Huh. Yeah, this is now where he's hitting it big, right?
Yeah. Later, Houdini and Betts sailed to England without a booking. He had to convince theater managers that he could escape from handcuffs at Scotland Yard before he received his first British contract. In July 1900, he opened at the Alhambra Theatre in London and then traveled the continent, where he set new box office records in Dresden and Berlin. Within a year, Houdini was the most popular attraction in Europe. He went from begging to work to owning their asses.
Nice. That's going to be us someday.
We just got to get out of some handcuffs.
That's right.
If the police did not challenge Houdini in a city where he played, Houdini challenged them. During an engagement in Moscow in May 1903, he dared the chief of the Russian secret police to imprison him on one of their escape-proof gels on wheels that had been designed to transport enemies of the state to Siberia.
Fuck that.
I have a feeling they're dropping them off out there.
Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky wheel.
I mean, maybe there's a prison out there they're going to. Maybe they're just like fucking Siberia. Bye.
Bye. Oh my God.
Fend for yourself.
I don't think I would have gone that route as Houdini did.
Well,
I would be interested in all of that.
He had a game plan. See, he had seen one of these strange horse-drawn vans on the streets already, and he examined it thoroughly while the horse was drinking water from a trough. So he already planned out his escape before he even challenged the police department.
Huh, okay.
He knew what he was doing. Houdini was stripped, searched, chained, hand and foot, and then locked in the wagon. He escaped within 20 minutes.
Wow.
Then Houdini returned to America and found himself in greater demand, and he was soon selling out theaters all over the country. 4 months after he returned, he staged his most remarkable prison break so far. In March 1906, officials locked the naked magician in...
He likes being naked, doesn't he?
He's an exhibitionist, for sure. I mean, I get why they're doing it, but also...
That's funny.
They didn't have modesty cloths then, so it is all out. In a Washington, D.C. cell on Murder Row. The officers then locked Harry's clothes in another cell, and then they returned to the warden's office just to wait. Working quickly, Houdini freed himself and then proceeded to open all the doors on the cell block.
Wow.
He shifted the prisoners because the prisoners are still there. He shifted the prisoners from one cell to another. They thought this shit was hilarious. And apparently he's naked the whole time too. So,
damn.
Like, look at this fucker. Put your clothes on first, dude.
Right. That's why they're like, ugh, there's a naked guy in my room.
He's like, okay.
Whatever. Just
Maybe
get out of my
there's a
room.
way so that the prisoners wouldn't challenge him. They always say, look crazier.
That's right. You're the crazy. Yes.
Yeah, because he's a small guy. Houdini is.
Right.
So
like 5'4" or something. I remember he was a small guy, right?
He's a shorty. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
He
he was
was.
5'4". And his wife was like 4'10" or something like that. She was like, I don't know if it was that small, but she was real short too.
Aw, they're the perfect couple.
Yeah. After changing the cells of all the men on the entire cell block, Harry locked the cells. He did lock them back in, so that was good.
Nice.
He knocked on the warden's door. The entire feat took less than 27 minutes.
Wow. Quick.
How many prisoners are in there? Like 6? I mean, because if you got 15 people to move around, somebody's going to ask questions or be slow.
No kidding. I cannot get out of my house if my life depended on it in 27 minutes. I have to go back inside. I forgot something. I go all the way up the third, story. There's no way.
No. And then like you include like trying to organize other people. I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
This ain't going to happen.
No.
So,
this guy, how many prisoners was there that
he didn't say. And so that's why I'm like, it's got to be kind of it's Murder Row. And have you ever watched like The Green Mile? There was only like 6 or 7 of them in there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep it at a small number. Still impressive.
It is impressive.
Yeah. That winter, Houdini jumped from the Belle Island Bridge in Detroit and got out of 2 pairs of handcuffs while submerged below the surface of icy water.
Look.
In the Columbian Theater in St. Louis in January 1908, Houdini escaped from a large galvanized container full of water. Before he was placed in the container, he suggested to the audience that they start holding their breaths the moment that his head disappears out of their view. He entered the can feet first and quickly disappeared into the water. Within 30 seconds, most spectators were gasping for air already.
Oh, yeah.
But Houdini did not appear for 2 full minutes before he resurfaced.
Oh, my God.
Later, he added to this act, by handcuffing himself also, just making it a little more challenging, and then putting 6 padlocks on the top of the container.
Damn.
Bitch, he's crazy. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he's really confident. And usually there were always people standing by with like axes and stuff. But I mean, like, they waited 2 minutes before they got,
Yeah.
Nobody was going after him.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder how like, what's the tap out time on that? Like,
Is he like, if it gets to 3 minutes, dudes, y'all come looking for me.
Right. I assume he knows how long he can hold his breath underwater and stuff like that. So there's got to be a certain time frame when that's why they've got axes and stuff, right?
Right. Or to make it more dramatic. I'm not sure. But maybe he says, don't you dare hit this thing open. I will get out of it. And then, but that still probably leaves a lot of panic in the person holding the axe. But I mean, yes, they obviously test these tricks a million times before they ever put them on stage because they want to be confident that they can get it done.
Yeah.
He's a professional.
Yeah, right.
In 1911, Houdini released himself from being tied to a plank by 3 sea captains. He also escaped from a deep-sea diving suit even after the headpiece had been bolted to his shoulders.
What?
How? They didn't explain these to me, but I'm like, okay. I'm really baffled by magic. Like, even a simple trick, I'd be like, do it again. I can't even use chopsticks. So, I mean, come on.
I can use chopsticks, Wendy. I can show you.
Oh, will you please teach me? They never have forks at my job, but we have a whole ton of chopsticks.
Really? Yeah, I can teach you how to do that.
I just poke the food with it. Eat it like it's a stick.
And that's how you do it. You already know.
Then he accepted the strangest challenge of all. A sea monster, which looked like a cross between a whale and a giant squid, had been found on the beach near Boston, and the lieutenant governor of Massachusetts dared Houdini to play Jonah. He didn't elaborate on what he meant, but Jonah goes into the well, right?
What, like in Pinocchio? Like that kind of thing?
They could have said that and it would have made more sense. But is it a Bible story or something?
I think so, yeah, but I don't know it.
I don't remember it, I should say. I have been told it. But yes, basically, they want him to go inside the sea monster and get out. And that's exactly what they do. They handcuff him, and then they force him through a slit in the embalmed carcass of the sea monster.
Where is the sea monster today? I need to know.
And then an assistant sews up the opening with a metal chains, but Houdini freed himself within 15 minutes. And he also said that shit smelled disgusting in there and he would never do something like that again. Any more sea monsters y'all find, I'll pass.
I'm done. I'm done with that.
Gross.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. So Houdini drew huge crowds to theaters wherever he played. And in 1912, Houdini introduced the Chinese water torture cell that a lot of people are familiar with.
Yeah.
How this act works is that handcuffs are snapped to his arms or wrist, And then there's restraints on his ankles as well. Houdini was then hurled upward, turned upside down, and lowered into the tank full of water.
Yeah.
Houdini was visible through a plate glass, but then they do put a curtain over him while he gets out of it, you know? And then again, there are people standing by with axes to make it more dramatic.
Yeah.
But after a few suspenseful minutes pass, and then Houdini just parts the curtains, free from all his restraints and out of the tank, the audience goes fucking bananas.
Yeah, right? They lose their
They're
shit.
just like, that's the greatest thing ever. I think getting out of the sea monster was pretty impressive, but
That's
whatever.
crazy.
And gross. But when Houdini returns home to the United States the following summer, he takes a bit of a break because he wants to spend time with his mom, Cecilia. She's now 72 and her health is failing. But months pass and then it's time to go back to Europe to return to his tour. Then on July 17th, a cable arrives for him while he's still in Europe, and it says that his beloved mother passed away.
Wasn't that sad?
He can't handle it. He falls unconscious to the floor.
Damn, he really can't handle it.
He really can't handle it. He breaches his contract, which, you know, that seems pretty, like, plausible anyways. Yeah. He's got to go home. But he breaches his contract and he cancels the rest of the European booking and he returns to New York for the funeral. It was the greatest blow that the great musician, you know, because he plays those tambourines.
Yeah, I remember the tambourines.
The great magician had ever suffered. He did not resume his European tour until September. He often said that the death of his mother had been a shock from which I do not think recovery is possible.
Oh.
Houdini was working in the United States when the Great War broke out in 1914. Since the European theater was closed to him, he perfected his new publicity stunt to bring to crowds in America. He would wear a straitjacket, or he would escape from it, I should say, while dangling in the air upside down from a tall building.
Yeah.
More than 20,000 people turned out to watch him wiggle out of his bindings in Providence. Another 50,000 turned out in Baltimore, and twice as many gathered in the nation's capital.
Yikes. Go back to Providence! Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
He would end the stunt by letting the straitjacket fall dozens of stories or more to the street below. See, he's a good showman now. He's really got it. Selling it. Dramatic.
That's very dramatic. Very spectacular.
He'd also extend his arms and take a bow while still hanging upside down. I don't think I could do that. Just so you know.
He's upside down, so he has to go up. That's got to be some abs of steel, right?
Yes.
I can't do that. Nope.
He had to have been really strong, though, to always be wiggling out of those straitjackets.
Yeah.
Houdini registered for the draft in 1917, but he was 43 years old, so it was very unlikely that they were ever going to call on him. He did use this opportunity to offer his services performing in training camps or Red Cross shows. He also staged his straitjacket escape high above Broadway as members of the Society of American Magicians and their wives sold war bonds in the streets. So he did his part.
Does that still exist?
War bonds?
No, the Society for Magician, whatever.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Cool.
Totally. On January 7th, 1918, Houdini introduced the biggest illusion ever staged at the New York Hippodrome.
Oh, yeah.
When he made Jenny, a 10,000-pound elephant, disappear.
Yeah.
People went bananas.
Oh, yeah.
This is more than they can handle. And Harry Houdini had finally made it.
Oh, wow.
But Harry was really troubled in his personal life. The fame just didn't mean as much to him. He was still depressed over the death of his mother and soon became obsessed with it. After she died, he was observed many times at the cemetery where she was buried, laying face down on her grave, holding long conversations with her. He felt that he had to communicate with her, and that was when he turned to spiritualism.
Yeah.
But having conducted fake seances during a low time in his career, he soon discovered that mediums he visited were trying to pass off cheap magic tricks as the work of spirits.
Huh.
He knew he could duplicate their methods on stage, and it was not long before his efforts to reach his mother became secondary to the need for him to expose all medium frauds.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he became the guy that started like, by the way, this shit's fake because, and this shit's fake because. I didn't know he did that.
Oh my God. They called him a Ghostbuster, which is not exactly the correct term, but
Wow.
But I mean, basically he was saying like, this is bullshit. Because he even started investigating like all their methods. So he was watching them. You know, he loves to study things and figure this shit out. So he starts watching them hardcore, and he began this self-appointed crusade against them. Meanwhile, his career is doing great. He's still doing fine. He's still working on the side. It's just like any free time he has, he's obsessing over this other thing. Before he closed his show at the Hippodrome, the magician signed a contract with B.F. Roth of Optic Films to star in a movie series called The Master Mystery. Houdini made his first Hollywood feature film, The Grim Game, for Paramount Pictures in the spring of 1919. His second film, Terror Island, I heard that one was fantastic. I actually don't know any of this shit. Was made soon after, and confident that he could write and produce movies himself, you know, as well as star in them, he formed the Houdini Picture Corporation.
Whoa.
His films enjoyed moderate success. They were okay, but were not enough to keep Houdini from his real calling. In 1920, during a tour in England, Houdini met Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, and a spokesperson for Spiritualism. The two became good friends, despite their opposite views of the supernatural. He met a number of British mediums through Doyle, but encountered nothing but trickery at their seances.
I love that. Trickery.
He would attend seances wearing a false beard, mustache, and any other kind of piece of disguise. And then he would sit quietly and just watch the happenings until he was confident that he knew what they were doing and that they were fake. And then he would just leap up and rip off his... Remember, he's a showman. So he's ripping off his disguise, and he'd yell at them that you are a fraud. And I'm sure they were like, did we invite him?
All right, who the heck is that?
Who let this party crasher in? His activities received extensive press coverage, but he was not doing it for the publicity. He does a lot of shit for publicity, but this wasn't it. More than anything, Houdini wanted to find a genuine medium, a real psychic who could put him in touch with his mother.
If he only had met Amy Allen.
Right? Duh. To prove that he did have an open mind, the magician made a pact with a number of his friends that if he should die before them, he would make contact, if at all possible, from the other side.
That's right. We have that same pact.
We do, for sure.
Same thing.
His is more skeptic. We're hoping this happens.
Yeah, right.
He devised a secret code with one person that he trusted the most, his wife, Bess.
Oh.
So that if the message should arrive from beyond, that she would know for sure that it was him. And while Houdini may have been willing to believe in the unexplainable, he was still unwilling to suffer those who he considered to be frauds. Mm-hmm. And in 1923, he took time off from his vaudeville engagements to travel across the country to lecture against fraudulent mediums.
Wow.
His book, A Magic Among the Spirits, would be published the following year. And he even went to Congress to seek laws to be passed to protect people from these kinds of frauds.
Wow, passionate man.
He was fucking serious about it. Somebody burned him, or, you know, this is a time after the war, so spiritualism became very big. A lot of people were seeking it because they had lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it just really struck a chord in him, because when you really do think about it, I mean, it could make even like myself upset, you know, just thinking of these people telling them lies when they're looking for hope and connection.
Yep. And cashing in on that shit.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
So he has his own personal feelings, and then he's feeling for these other people. And he's like, wait the fucking minute. This ain't right.
Yeah.
Houdini's position caused rifts within the spiritualism movement and even ruptured friendships. His friend, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, was convinced that Houdini possessed divine powers, even though the magician protested this extensively and was basically like, stop saying that. And he just kept saying it. And then they were no longer friends. They were like, I can't hang out with you anymore.
Oh, it seems like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was just like head over heels in love with this guy. And he's just like, stop it. Just stop.
You're so magical. He's like me. He loves magic. He's so blown away. He's like, I just don't get it. How'd you get out of that sea monster? But Houdini was like, stop it. You're bringing attention to me. I don't know. You know, I have to throw this in, but when we first started paranormal investigating, my dad was like, I just don't believe. And I was like, oh, well, these are the things that are happening, you know, and this is the stuff I saw. You can believe me or not, but it did happen. And he's like, I just can't believe that people can come back from the dead and communicate with you. My mother passed away and I've never seen her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that puts a lot of doubt in people's mind, or they get really sour about it as well. Like Houdini might have, believing like, if my mother hasn't contacted me, so it's impossible. It has to be impossible because she won't come back to me.
Yeah, that's sad. I get that. I mean, some people actually rest in peace. They don't have anything else to do here on this earth. You know, everything is in order for them.
Yeah. And some people's faith just doesn't allow them. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
About the Jewish faith and how they feel about life after death or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it may have not been her plan of what she wanted for her.
Right.
Later in 1923, Houdini joined a panel that was put together by the Scientific American magazine, which offered a reward for any medium that could prove their psychically gifts were genuine.
Wow.
Houdini went on countless investigations to those who attempted to claim the reward, disproving most simply by challenging them to perform outside their usual settings. You know, I always work from home. Nope, you've got to come to our office, and then they can't do their shit. And so it's like, all my tricks were at home. To ensure proper control, Houdini designed a special fraud preventer cabinet, which was a crate that had openings at the top for the medium's head and arms. They could get their head and arms out, but they were sitting in a box. And it restricted their contact with other objects in the room. So they really couldn't do their thing.
All right. Yeah.
Some of the investigators believed these practices were a bit over the top, and the confrontational magician had quarrels, often violent, with every member of the committee.
They got into like punching matches over the shit.
They're like, calm down, you know? It's kind of cool what they did. Isn't it? He's like, no, it is fucking fake.
Wow.
But not everybody on this committee was a magician either, so they didn't have the skills that he did to recognize these kind of things.
Yeah.
And he's a little hothead guy, okay?
Little. Yep.
Doyle was devastated when Houdini exposed a Boston medium named Marjorie Crandon, an attractive blonde who was also known as the Blonde Witch of Lime Street. Ooh. She would, get this, she would perform naked and apparently secreted ectoplasm from her private parts.
I've heard about her. Yeah. I didn't realize that was her real name.
That was actually her stage name. Her real name was like Minnie.
Oh, okay.
But she went by Marjorie.
Wow.
So you probably recognize her by her real name. If I'm even getting that right, because I didn't write it down. I read so much about it, and then it was like, we have to trim this shit down, because it was basically like Houdini attended her shows and observed what she was doing, and he said these are sleight of hand tricks, and he then wanted to go on and publicly expose her. But she had like captivated so many people like Doyle, and they were just like in love with her ass, and her husband was rich and stuff like that. So everybody was against like Houdini kind of calling her out.
Yeah.
And so she actually continued to go on to be a success, but she didn't get that fucking reward money.
Yeah.
But there was one chilling photo. I could only really find this one case. There had to have been more. But I found this one case that Houdini could not debunk. Mrs. Mary Fairfield McVickers. She must have been married twice. Or her family was rich. Why she got 2 last names? Anyways, on the occasion of her 73rd birthday, she boldly stated to the crowd that she saw herself passed out in a coffin. She assumed that this was her death, and she further insisted that should she die within the next year, a photograph should be taken next to her casket at the funeral home at exactly 5 p.m.
Wow.
If her request was carried out, she would be enabled to appear beside the remains of her body.
How does she know that?
She said she just saw herself in a casket, and then all of a sudden, I guess it's like plotting like how we plot, hey, we're going to like meet up when we're both dead. She was like, I'm going to give them a show. I think I can do that.
That's amazing. I hope I can plan the same thing. 5 o'clock, be there or be square.
She said such a specific time too. That was very nice of her to make sure that people just didn't wait all day for this. Because when we go on ghost, investigations, we're here there forever, and we're like, all when are you going to show up? I'd like to take a nap, eat some lunch.
Right. And as soon as we leave that room, we go into another room. It's like, holy shit! It was just in that room.
It was like
they just.
Where are you going? That's the time I was coming, but never mind. During the funeral, a year later, on March 23rd, 1923, her request was honored by her family. When the picture was developed, several faces were revealed in the smudges of light hovering over the woman's corpse. Family and friends swore it looked just like her.
Interesting.
Convinced that the McVickers photo was a traditional double exposure, either by accident, by design, them trying to get attention, Houdini visited the church with his own photographer in tow. Houdini took several photos. He doesn't trust anyone. He took several photos, and after developing the photos under strict laboratory controls, 9 of the images revealed nothing, but 1 contained a streak of light that appears to contain a shroud said to resemble the late Mrs. Vickers.
Wow.
Not one photographer could explain how this could be tricked. And
this was probably well after 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, so that's what's confusing to me it's not confusing to me, but it tricked me at first. When I first read the story, I was like, oh, he knew about her predicting her death, and he knew what time to be there, and he took these photos. No. It was like days, weeks later, her body wasn't even there anymore. And then he goes to the church. And then he just took his own photos in the place as if she's still just hanging around. Now, this was like the first blah, blah, blah spiritualism temple in Los Angeles. So this was her jam. She was a spiritualist, and this is where they would go and do their practices and stuff. So she could hang out there,
Wow. That's crazy.
But it was, at first I was like, oh, he was there at the funeral. They called him. They said, you've got to come. This is amazing. And then I realized that's not what they're saying.
It's not like they had Polaroids back then either. They're like, holy shit. They're like, zing, zzz. Then it comes out. They shake the shit. They set it down. And, oh my God, there she is. So they take a few more. Then they give Harry Houdini a call on the telly.
No.
Get your ass down here.
But I sent you the picture.
Oh, you did?
It's not great because it's 2 pictures. He wanted to make sure. I could not find one of just the ghostly image. You had to find it with Harry Houdini's photo he took of himself in the same spot, though.
That's nice. Okay, I see the long streak of light.
Yeah. And you could see like a nose maybe or something like that in that little light anomaly there.
I can see it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I'm looking at the first picture that you sent me with Houdini, and he's all GQ and his picture.
Right.
But so right next to the streak of light, it looks like, it's, again, it could be matrixing because there is either wallpaper on the wall or the image is just grainy as fuck, Chris's camera style. But it looks like the face.
Yeah.
It looks like a woman's face.
Yeah, you could totally see it. So it's not like a full body ghost just standing there chilling, waving, hey, what's going on? But it was a light anomaly that no photographer could explain. They said the negatives were clean as hell.
Wow.
Everything they used was brand new. It wasn't dirty.
Yeah,
They tried really hard to make this a controlled experiment. And then, out of the 10 photos, this is the only one that had this.
That's crazy. So that's and they think that that's exactly like what she looked like.
Yeah. The face that's in the top of it. They claim that that's what she looked like.
Interesting. That's very, very interesting. I mean, when you look at something like this and you know that it's from the early 1900s, I mean, that's cool. I mean, that was history right there.
Yeah, it's just cool. Most of the time he was like, bullshit. Like he would, on stage, take photographs and stuff and show you how all this shit could be faked. Like, people would go to a photographer after they lost somebody and the ghostly image of that person. And then he would show how he could make ectoplasm appear and stuff. None of this was explained to me, and I'm still baffled, but I think he's some divine being, just like Doyle does,
Yeah, right.
Like, apparently he did all this on stage, and he would explain to people, it's bullshit. But this one stumped him because it was such a clean investigation, and yet something still appeared in these photos.
Cool.
So he said, I cannot say that this is the spirit photograph of Mrs. McVickers, nor can I deny it. That he just left it at that. People say he was pissy about that, but I don't think he was pissy. He said he had an open mind about it.
Yeah. Well, he still wanted to prove one way or the other, and there were left questions open, so that's probably why he was a little tiffed.
I don't think he liked to be baffled, and not be able to figure it out. That might be a trait for magicians. In the fall of 1925, he opened a new full evening act that casted him in 3 roles: magician, escapologist, and debunker of mediums. In every city along his route, Houdini offered $10,000 to anyone who could exhibit a spiritualistic Can you help me out?
Is it manifestation?
Yes.
I knew it.
I'm just going to leave it in that way. I can't read or talk. That he could not duplicate. The shows sold out all over the country, and Houdini found himself in the position of extending tour dates because the demand for tickets was so high. Houdini's fall season began in September in Paterson, New Jersey. It would be during this tour that the show began to be plagued with problems and mishaps. In Providence, Rhode Island, Betts became ill due to poisoning. Well, it tells you what type of poisoning, but I can't read it, so I don't know. Maybe I should tell you.
Is it too nasty for our podcasters to hear?
I just never have heard of this before.
Is that a P?
Yes, it's a P.
It's a ptomaine. It's got to be a sign like a PT, like ptomaine, I guess. I don't know. Exactly. Like romaine. Hey, they were poisoned by romaine lettuce, always.
PTO main lettuce.
Don't eat it. It's bad for you.
On the night of October 11th, a chain slipped during Houdini's famous Chinese water torture cell escape, and he fractured his ankle. A doctor in the audience advised him to end the show, but he wouldn't go to the hospital, and he didn't stop. In fact, he finished the entire performance, painfully hopping on one foot.
Damn, dude.
On the afternoon of October 22nd, 2 McGill University students who had heard Houdini give a lecture the week before stopped by the magician's dressing room at the Princess Theater.
Ooh, must be lovely.
I bet. It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
But one of the young men was drawing a portrait of Houdini. Like, get a camera, dude. Nobody's got time for that. Then a third student, J. Gordon Whitehead, came in and began talking to the magician. Houdini was very courteous to the young men, but he also wasn't paying attention all that well. He was preoccupied, going through his mail, just trying to get shit done, but appeasing these children.
Oh.
He wasn't paying close attention when Whitehead asked if it was true that Houdini could withstand powerful blows to his stomach. He absently replied that he could, as long as he could brace himself in anticipation for the punch. The boy, thinking that Houdini had given him permission for such a demonstration, suddenly leaned forward and struck him 4 times in the abdomen with a clenched fist. Why 4 times?
Bastard.
What the fuck? He claims this was all like, oh, I just was fucking around and I wanted to see if it worked. But 4 times? No, that's assault, sir.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
When Houdini looked startled, he's too nice. He looked startled. The boy quickly backed away and exclaimed in a panic that he thought Houdini was giving him permission to hit him. The magician soon recovered enough to reassure the young man that it was a simple misunderstanding. And then he stepped on stage to do a show. He's like, don't worry about it. Such a nice guy. Throughout the evening, except for when he's arguing with that spiritualism committee.
Yeah. It's a completely different story when it's a spiritualism thing.
Throughout the evening, Houdini was seen wincing in pain, and late that night, he admitted to crippling pains that continued to get worse. He continued to perform over the next 2 days. Even with the pain worsening. An assistant wired the show's advance man in Detroit. I guess you have to be in the biz to know what that means. I don't know what man that is, but he told him to have a physician ready that could see Houdini when they arrived. The train arrived late and Houdini went straight to the Garrick Theater. Houdini was diagnosed as having acute appendicitis. You know how that
feels. Oh, come on.
His
really?
was not brought on by demons like yours, though. Just fucking punk college kids. Actually, medically, it's really hard to connect how that punch would have affected this. That's not typically how it happens. So coincidence, or some people blame that punch as kind of accelerating shit for him.
Maybe. Demon punch.
Yeah. That kid was a demon. How do you even punch somebody 4 times that quickly?
Demon?
Yes. My arm couldn't repeat her that fast.
No, because then my fist would hurt. I'd have to recover.
Oh, my God. Anyways, he had a fever of 102 degrees, but refused to go to the hospital for emergency surgery because he had a sold-out show that night, and he was determined to go on stage.
Bonkers. I did not know that appendicitis was coming. I didn't know that.
Well, there's so many legends out there about how he died.
Yeah.
This is the real story, guys.
Wow. That's all we tell you here. Yeah. The true
We try,
stuff.
unless this isn't the real story either. I just went to like a couple of websites. Anyways, how many do you want me to search? No, I'm pretty sure this is the true story. By the time that he took the stage, his fever had gone up to 104. He was tired, feverish, and tortured with abdominal pain, plus the broken ankle that he suffered a few weeks ago. He somehow managed to perform the entire show, though. Spectators reported that he missed cues at times, and he seemed to hurry the show along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
I mean, cut the man some slack. Wouldn't you hate it if you had left a bad, TripAdvisor review and then you find out the man's dying?
Look, I have no idea how he did that. When I had to have my appendix removed, I was in so much pain and I was shivering and I was uncomfortable. There's no way I could have just been like, yeah, it's just stomach cramps. I'm going to work today. No, I'm like, you know what? I got to go to the hospital. Something is wrong. And this man's like, sold out show. I got to do this shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was poor at one time.
Yeah.
Houdini, he wasn't fucking around.
That's right.
Okay, so between the first and second acts, he was taken to the dressing room and ice packs were placed on him to try to get down his fever. And then they repeated this during Act 2 and 3 as well. Towards the end of the evening, he began doing what he called little magic, which was silks and coins. I don't know what silks mean. Making stuff disappear in your hand, like a rabbit show up and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Card tricks, which he's not very good at, and accepting questions and challenges from the audience, which I hope they weren't very strenuous.
Yeah, right.
He remained on stage throughout the evening, but just before the third act, he turned to his chief assistant and said, "Drop the curtain. I can't go on any further." When the curtain was closed, he literally collapsed where he was standing.
Yeah.
Houdini was rushed to Grace Central Hospital An operation was performed immediately, but surgeons agreed that there was little hope for him to pull through. His appendix had ruptured, and despite the efforts of medical experts, it was suggested that Betts contact family members. Despite the seriousness of the condition, though, Houdini managed to hang in there until the early afternoon of October 31st, 1926.
Wow.
Houdini turned to Betts and his brother, Theo, who he affectionately called Dash, and spoke quietly to them and said, "Dash, I'm getting tired and I can't fight anymore." A moment later, Houdini stepped through the curtain between this world and the next. Houdini's funeral was held on November 4th, 1926 in Queens, New York at the Machpelah Cemetery. More than 2,000 mourners in attendance witnessed his burial. The crest of the Society of American Magicians was inscribed on his tombstone, and a broken wand ceremony was conducted.
Wow.
I did have the details on what that was, but I took it out. They do it every year, though.
At his grave?
Yes.
Wow. On Halloween or?
Yes.
Wow.
Days following his death came reports from clairvoyants who claimed to predict Houdini's death. People have been saying this for years, though, so they were bound to be right at some point.
Yeah, right.
However, according to some, Houdini himself had predicted the coming events. Among clippings he collected was one from a 1919 recording of a collapse on stage in Detroit of a comedian named Sidney Drew. The performer had taken ill in St. Louis, but had continued to play against all advice from doctors until he reached Detroit, when he could simply go on no further. Those who discovered the clipping among Houdini's belongings must have found it odd that their deaths were somewhat similar.
Yeah.
And why Houdini kept this, was completely unknown. I'm assuming he's a fan of the comedian, but
maybe.
You would think his wife would know that. His fellow friend and magician, Joseph Dunnery, also had an eerie story to recall after Houdini's death. He said that one early morning in October in 1926, so like right before his death, Houdini called him in New York and asked him to come with his car to West 113th Street, as he was in a hurry and had to move some things. When the car was loaded, he asked Dunnery to drive through the park. Dunnery said that as they got to the exit of Central Park West around 72nd Street, Houdini grabbed him by the arm and urged him to go back to the house. Puzzled, Dunnery asked, "Did you forget something?" Yeah. Houdini replies, "Don't ask any questions, Joe. Just turn around and go back."
Weird.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, right.
Dunnery drove back to the house, and when they arrived, Houdini climbed out of the car and stood looking at the house in the rain. He stayed that way, water dripping down his face and soaking his clothes for a few minutes, and then he just got back in the car without saying anything.
Hey, Harry, next time, a little less creepy, okay? Just, tone it down a notch.
He's used to being dramatic, so I don't know. Dunnery drove off, and when the two men again approached the west exit of the park, he glanced over and saw Houdini's shoulders were shaking. He was crying. His friend asked him what was wrong, and Houdini gave a rather cryptic answer. "I've seen my house for the last time, Joe. I'll never see my house again."
Wow.
Not long after Houdini's death, the famous Houdini Seances began. Betts planned to honor her husband's request by attempting to contact him after death. Every Sunday, at the hour of his death, she would shut herself into a room with his photograph and wait for a sign. Wow. She spread the word that she was waiting for a secret message from her husband, and word spread far and wide, and Betts then also offered a $10,000 reward to any medium that would deliver a true message. I don't think you should have to do that to get like an honest reply.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally.
Almost weekly, a new medium came forward claiming to have broke the code, but none of them did until 1928 when famed medium Arthur Ford announced he had a message for Bess. He told her that the message came from Houdini's mother and consisted of a single word, which was forgive. Apparently, that was her last word, the mother.
Wow.
With this, Bess had a startling announcement to make, claiming that Ford's message was the first that she had received which had any appearance of the truth. In November, another message came from Ford, this time Houdini himself. While in a trance, the medium relayed the message, Rosabella, answer, tell, pray, answer, look, tell, answer, tell. What? You had me at Rosabella, but I lost you after that.
The rest of it, yeah.
What? So the private message between Houdini and Bess was Rosabella believe. So I don't really know why all these other words are after it and why Bess was like, oh my God, this is it.
Oh.
As soon as she heard, she was like, come to my house. We have to meet. This is, you got the message right. And then he's like, tell me what Rosabella meant. And she says that it's the secret word that they had because it was the title of the song that was popular at Coney Island when they first met.
Oh.
And then the rest of the message she told him, she volunteered this information because he hadn't said it yet, was a series of code words that spelled out the word believe. Look, I looked at it. Those answer blah, blah, blahs and stuff, that doesn't spell, I don't know how that spells believe. So I don't think he got it exactly right, but it was close enough for her. She was like, yeah, this is it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the code was one that Houdini had used during the mind reading act of their performance. So this was something that people would have seen.
Yeah.
Not surprisingly, there were accusations of fraud leveled against Arthur Ford, even though Bess claimed the message was correct. Many had claimed that Ford had gotten the code from a book about Houdini published in 1927 that included the code word.
Yeah, right.
Why is she freaking out?
Oh, that's sad.
When you're grief-stricken, I'm sure you can be easily like, how did you know that?
Right. Yeah, you're looking for every sign, right?
And she may have not written that book or had anything to do with it because it was a part of their act. Somebody else, and then he might have told some other friends or something, though it claims he only told her. So I don't know. The press and the skeptics and Houdini's friends refused to accept that Ford had broken the code, and Bess, on their advice, withdrew her reward offer. Thank God.
Oh, yeah,
Bess
right.
Houdini continued to hold seances, however, in hopes of communicating with her late husband. But as the years went by, she began to lose hope that she would never hear from him. The last official Houdini seance, as you know, was held on Halloween night, 1936, 10 years after Houdini had died. A group of friends, fellow magicians, occultists, scientists, and Bess Houdini herself gathered in Hollywood on the roof of the Knickerbocker Hotel.
Ah, yeah.
It's all coming back.
I love that episode.
Coverage for the final Houdini seance was provided by radio and was broadcasted all over the world. Attendants attempted to contact the elusive magician for over an hour before finally giving up.
Yeah.
The mournful voice of Bess Houdini then echoed through the radio receiver around the world. Yes, Houdini did not come through, she replied. My last hope is gone. I do not believe that Houdini can come back to me or to anyone. The Houdini shrine has burned for 10 years. I now reverently turn out the light. It is finished. Good night, Harry.
Oh.
The seance came to an end, but at the moment that it did, a tremendously violent thunderstorm broke out, drenching the seance participants and terrifying them with horrific lightning and thunder. They would later learn that the mysterious storm did not occur anywhere else in Hollywood, only above the Knickerbocker Hotel.
That's creepy.
Some speculated that perhaps Houdini did come through, or that he's God. I told you. Doyle was right the whole time.
It was.
How can a ghost control weather like that?
Can't. He's a very dramatic man. He had to have that very dramatic exit. It was like, and good night. Boom, 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 boom.
I cut it out of my story, so I'm saying this from memory, but the last seance, the person that helped Betts organize it was a friend of Houdini's, but also Betts' new boyfriend. And the two of them lived together and stuff like that. So I wonder if Houdini was like, hold the fucking phone.
That's my girl. No, sir.
Because he was a hothead, remember?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so it makes sense for the lightning to kick in, right?
He's like, you say what, bitch?
Yeah.
No, not really. He would never talk to her like that.
No.
Okay. It has also been noted that Houdini's ghosts have been felt throughout North America and without the aid of seances. In Niagara Falls, Canada, in 1968, the Houdini Magical Hall of Fame opened its doors featuring professional paraphernalia of the famous magician and escape artist.
That's cool.
A large amount of the treasures were bequeathed to Houdini's brother. And even though Houdini had instructed his brother to burn the material so that no one would discover his secrets, his brother didn't listen. And he kept them in storage for nearly 40 years. Eventually, these items were sold, again, to the Houdini Magical Hall of Fame in Niagara Falls and put on display. In the first year of the museum's operation, there were a series of 6 fires.
Wow.
A robbery, a freak accident in which one of the museum's directors walked through a plate glass window.
Oh,
Many
what?
believe that Houdini himself was showing his displeasure of the museum.
So he walked through the window and he's alive?
Yeah,
Or
I think so.
Okay.
Just not a good situation, but yeah.
Oh, cut up a little bit, huh?
Yeah. In 1995, a massive fire ripped through the building and most of the artifacts were destroyed by the blaze,
Wow.
essentially fulfilling Houdini's final wish. The building now houses a 3D movie theater, and according to the staff members,
Wow.
paranormal activity still unfolds, including disembodied voices that spook the caretakers late at night.
I love haunted theaters. Those are so much fun.
You get a movie and some action.
And a spook. I mean, it's like, it's 2 for 1. I mean, you get some popcorn too, so then 3 for 1. I mean, there's just so much there.
I hope they have good popcorn. I like pretzels with cheese too.
Oh, I miss pretzels with cheese.
I know you do.
I could do nachos.
That's fair. Not as good. Houdini's spirit has also been reported at the David Stott building, located on the same site as the Garrick Theater, which was demolished in 1928. So this building is there now, and that was the site of Houdini's last performance. Other rumors place the ghost at the building that once housed WMR Hamilton Funeral Home, where Houdini was embalmed.
Wow.
Still others feel it is more realistic that he haunts the site of Old Grace Central Hospital, which today hosts the Harper Professional Building.
Wow. Seriously? It's changed?
It doesn't look like it's not a regular hospital. So it was like an old, brick building that's, so easily changed to like an office building, but because it didn't look all hospital-like.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
The tradition of holding a seance for Houdini continues today, held by magicians and just regular folks, as I discovered on YouTube, throughout the world. There's lots of videos of people trying to hold Houdini seances with spirit boxes and other devices like that. They're quite entertaining.
That's so interesting that he can't come through on, to everyone.
But he said he would, so they're just not giving up.
Wow.
So even though Betts quit doing her stuff in 1936, the official Houdini seance organization formed in the 1940s by Sidney Hollins Radner. Yearly Houdini seances are also conducted in Chicago at the Excalibur nightclub by necromancer Neil Tobin.
Wow.
I don't know why I'm just assuming you would know him.
I know you're looking at me too. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is.
All the necromancers, don't you?
Not all of them. I'm working on it.
On behalf of the Chicago Assembly of the Society of American Magicians.
Wow. That's a
mouthful. And at the Houdini Museum in Scranton.
Oh, what?
Yep. By magician Dorothy Dietrich. Harry Houdini is still considered today one of the greatest illusionists and magicians in history.
Yeah.
The end. So guess what I'm doing for this Halloween?
You're going to be Harry Houdini?
No, I'm totally going to try to contact him. Listen, I watched so many YouTube videos of people just with their spirit boxes, and they weren't all that great, but there was this one guy got a voice on a spirit box. No. He had one of those like boombox situations.
Oh, yeah, the echo, blah, 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 blah.
But, okay, so I actually watched 2 videos. One is 20 minutes long. You should only watch it to skip through and to giggle at this dude. He has one of those boom boxes as well, but he is in what looks like a fucking warehouse by himself.
Okay.
On the back wall is a cartoon drawing of what looks like a little fat lady with a apron on and stuff. And there's nothing else on the wall but this one cartoon drawing. You know how they love to like graffiti out abandoned buildings?
Yeah.
But there's just this one drawing. So, and then I'm also like, why is this guy just sitting there with a recliner or whatever he's sitting in? His table, his whole setup. Is this his house? It's weird.
You know why. Yeah. And he drew that shit on the wall and he was proud of it.
So, it's back there for a reason. He picked this location. So anyways, he's got a couple of boom boxes and he gets all kinds of fucking weird noises, none of which do I think is Harry Houdini. And I could not even stand to listen to the whole thing because, you know, those boom boxes are like, wah, 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 wah. And he's like, did you hear that? They said murder. And it's like, no, they did not say that at all. But sometimes there are words coming through and there's lots of screaming coming through. So nothing to do with Harry Houdini, though he says that was the purpose of his situation. This other guy, though, with this boom box, it's only like a 2.5-minute video, so we could even try to share it. He got one voice that came through and he claims that he paired it up with listening to old interviews of Harry Houdini, and he says their voices are very similar, which I agree. They do sound very similar, but 1930s or 20s interviews are very mechanical, and then these little boom boxes are very mechanical, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then I also got you a little clip that's like 2 minutes long that we'll have to share on social media that is of one of those big time Houdini seances that they put on.
Awesome.
It's just a lady sitting there being like, Houdini's talking to me, and he's telling me that the Cleveland theater, blah, 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 cheated him out of money. I mean, that could be public knowledge. Yeah. You know, that's probably somewhere in a history book. So I don't know, but that's what they look like. So I thought I'd share that. We'll share that with you guys later on social media and stuff.
You got Miss Cleo in there somewhere?
Now she would get it right. She would have gave Houdini a run for his money. Her and Amy Allen.
I know, right? Oh, shit, that's awesome. So when you try to contact him on Halloween, like, what's your method? Are you going to run out and try to get one of those boom boxes? You going to watch his movie? What's your plan?
Okay, so definitely probably going to watch just a lot of clips of him on YouTube doing his performances. I think I'll just take over my dining room and sit at this round table, play some clips. You have to have out an offering of food and drink, probably some candles to help set the mood. And I might employ the rest of my family to create a circle.
Yes.
It's something we've never done together, you know?
Oh, see, family time.
Oh, so I have to have out some form of communication. Well, of course, I'll have my recorder out. And then I guess a spirit box. I'll try that. I don't have a Ouija board.
Do you want me to send you one?
No.
I got a couple.
So I could always make one. I could just, draw out letters and put something down and ask it to be moved around. I'd probably do that.
Oh my God. There's a meme where they use a napkin and a Dorito. And I'm going to have to roll that out.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I love Doritos.
I do.
But that's all I got for you. I saw this little snippet about him and I just started thinking, yeah, that's right. They do those seances on Halloween. And then I was looking into his seances and I realized that he passed away on Halloween, and it just spiraled into, I fucking love him. And I am so intrigued by magic. I was like, I hope that this counts as paranormal.
There was paranormal stuff in there, so yeah.
I found a couple of haunted places just so I can talk about Harry Houdini.
I mean, Harry Houdini, one of the things that he started out with was his, wannabe version of the seances. And then you throw in the lady with her nakedness and her secretion of the ectoplasma. I mean, you got it all in there.
And I think it's interesting to share somebody with a different point of view. He wanted to believe so bad, and then he kept getting, we are not going to tell you that everybody out there trying to sell you a paranormal story is telling the truth. We don't believe every story that comes our way or the stuff that we watch on TV. We harshly criticize it. So we Harry Houdini it up a little bit. That's why we go out and explore it ourselves, because you really have to experience it yourself.
Yeah.
He's smart enough to know all those magic tricks that he figured it out. I've yet to figure out how I get a voice on a recording that isn't me or you, in an empty space.
Yeah.
So it baffles me, and I do believe that ghosts exist. I don't know if deep down he kind of did, and he was just sour about never getting to talk to his mom again.
Yeah, I think he was hurt. I think he wanted desperately. It sounds like it to me anyways, that he just wanted to connect with her again. And there were all these people out there claiming that they could make it happen. But guess what? He's a master of trickery. He knows what to look for. And you start pulling this man's leg, and he's like, fuck this shit. No, I got your number, buddy. It's like, who was that one medium? John, whatever, the crossing over guy. You know what I'm talking about? John something.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his last name.
John Edward, right?
Yeah.
He did the same sort of thing. My mom was a big fan of his. She was just like in love with him. One of those, every time she saw him, like she was like crying her eyes off because he was just dead on with all of these people. And then it turned out that he was pulling the shenanigans too. And it's like, come the fuck on, seriously?
It's really wrong.
It is really, really wrong. I mean, to play with someone's emotions like that. I mean, people are just desperate, like Houdini was, wanted so much to talk to their lost loved ones again that they'll go to those great lengths to reach out to these mediums that are just, unfortunately con artists. So that's an amazing story. I absolutely love that you did that. That is terrific. And it's so funny too, because I hadn't even thought about it, and I should have.
Yes, I was super psyched to do this story. So, of course, we'll post what we can. Probably just a bunch of images of Harry Houdini. Maybe some of the mediums that he outed and the locations that he said to haunt. And there's actually more locations, like practically almost everywhere he performed. And he lived in New York, but he lived in LA for a while. And so the people are like, no, his spirit's here and no, his spirit's there. But they didn't have a whole lot of juicy stories, so I just got it down to the good ones.
Oh.
So we'll share what we can on social media, and maybe a bit more that you didn't get to hear, because like I said, it was too small for me to really talk about, but maybe just an FYI on the location in case you're in that area. Yeah. So you can follow us on all our forms of social media, which is COTN_paranormal on Instagram and COTN paranormal _, on Facebook and Twitter. And please email us at creaturesofthenight_paranormal@gmail.com, or private message us on any of those forms of social media I just told you about. If you have a story to share, if it's related to this story, fantastic. He did live a long time ago, so maybe not. But he did interact in a lot of theaters around the country and with the seances that still go on. If you've got some story connected to this story, please share that with us. Or if you just want to share another location with us, that's awesome too. Yeah. We love talking about this shit all day long. So
lots of theaters. We love it.
Everything. So anyways, that's all that I got for you.
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this for Halloween. That's a great story. Loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was fitting. I hope everybody else does too. So thanks for listening, and bye.
Peace.